This is Ally Burnett with the Buyer's Box podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Greg Harrelson.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming.
You're
Can
welcome.
you tell everybody a little bit about you, your company, and your background?
Yeah. I've been in real estate for roughly 30 years, right around 30 years, all in the Myrtle Beach area. So, I'm about as local as they come. So I've, started years ago as just selling like everyone else, eventually built a team. And then I decided to kind of transform my team into a brokerage. It's kind of more like a team bridge. I run it more like a team than I do a brokerage. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing that for quite a long time. Last year, we closed 4,019 sales. So it was a really cool thing to go over the 4,000 mark.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. We kind of met Greg through our travels of real estate here, and also through training events. We've seen Greg on stage. Greg does a lot of training with his agents and has an online podcast. I can drop the links for all of that later. Today, I really want to talk about Buyer's Consult, because we talk a lot about how to get the leads, what tech to use, what to say when you call the lead, how often to call it. And I know you talked with Andrew in a previous episode about getting that speed to lead. But, we never really talk about, okay, we got the person on the phone. Okay, they want to meet. That's where our agents panic. So we get a lot of calls from our new agents where they're like, oh my gosh, somebody's meeting me at the office. And we're like, that's a good thing. That's the next step. So can we talk a little bit about what are you training your agents to do? What's the talk track to get them either to the office, to the appointment?
Yeah, and you're spot on. We need to discuss this more in the industry. It's not really talked about, and I don't really know why. But let me put it into context. I mean, this is the greatest thing that could have ever happened to buyer agents. Because if you go back in history, all my 30 years, and my dad was in real estate before I was, so we could go back years, and everyone talks about you have to list to last. Okay, and it wasn't really that you got to list homes to last. It was you got to list to last. Listing agents have control over their time. I'm going to say this again. It didn't say, it wasn't about listing homes. It was about listing. So let's talk about what listing is. Listing is a contractual obligation that has a beginning time and an ending time that we are going to exclusively work together. So that's what a listing is. Whether we're listing a buyer, which is now what we do, or we list a seller, which is what we've always done in our industry, all it really meant is we now have a contract to exclusively work together over a period of time. So that's what this buyer agreement is. That's the single best thing that could have ever happened to buyer agents, is now buyer's agents are actually listing agents, and you need to be thinking, how many listings can I take this month? How many listings can I take this week? Now, your question was more around, okay, what's the talk tracks and how do we do this? Well, I think it's all going to start with the agents who have the toughest time with the buyer agency conversation. The buyer agreement conversation in my opinion, are the agents that have not kind of thought through it enough to answer this one question. And that is, why do you matter to the transaction? And if you know why you matter to the transaction, then you also know your value to the transaction. Because see, why you matter, I might think, oh, you're extremely intelligent, but the buyer is wanting to know, why do you matter to this transaction? And when they feel that you matter, they have no problem signing the agreement. We've had to do that on the listing side forever. We had to share with the seller, why did we matter? We said, this is how we market. This is our experience. This is this. Well, the same conversation you have when you list a seller is the conversation you had to have when you list a buyer. It's just about demonstrating your value. Now, a lot of agents don't know how to demonstrate their value, or I should say, they're hesitant to talk about their value. And I push back on that. I do not think that they're hesitant to talk about their value. I think that they don't know what their value is. So it starts with, take a notepad out. I'm kind of the notepad guy, right? Take a notepad out and a pencil, And on the top of the pad, put, why do I matter to a real estate transaction? Why do I matter to a buyer? And I would like you to, for the next day, I would tell an agent, you write as many answers as you can over the next 24 hours on why you matter to the transaction. After 24 hours, take a highlighter and highlight 3 or 4 reasons why you think are the most compelling reasons why you matter, and that becomes your script. Now, why you matter is going to be totally different than why I matter and why you matter, or somebody else might matter. It's not like there is a script. It's a matter of what is your authentic script. And that's why I take you through, take out a pad, write it down, 24 hours, highlight 3 or 4, single out those 3 or 4, turn that into a talk track. Now you know why you matter, and you won't have as much challenge in having these conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's great. And one thing I would add to that is each client's different, right? So if somebody's buying a single family home or a condo or a primary home or an investment, I think that the why you matter will change. And so I think having that list is great because I think some of them will always do the same, but some may be interchangeable.
100%. And I want to say, if you write down one of the reasons why you matter is because you're honest, no. You'll follow up, no, because those are like basics. Like we should just because it's our fiduciary to follow up. It's our fiduciary to be honest. So those are not compelling reasons why someone matters. If you don't have those things, it's a compelling reason for why you shouldn't be hired. But those are not things. Like for me, I believe I empower the consumer with the information necessary to help them make good financial decisions in the area of their real estate holdings. That's why I matter. See, I'm an educator. I matter because in my world, in my mind, what I contribute is education and empowering them with the information to help them make good decisions. That's why I matter. And every one of us have one of those.
Yeah, I think that that's great. And, another thing to add too is, at least for our team, our agents aren't on their own. And it's the same with you. The agents are not on their own. So if you're in a team or if you're at a brokerage where you have lots of support, you're a collective brain, right? Like you don't have to know every single thing. You just need to be around other people that also know things or know where to find the right answer if you don't have the answer. And so I think that's part of the conversation that we have with our agents, because oftentimes, a new agent that's out there in the world, they're not very confident. They probably don't have all the answers. And so a lot of times, we'll go with them as the team leader to their first couple, just to kind of, make the agent feel more comfortable, also make the client feel more comfortable. So most agents, they know how to get the person on the phone and get all the LP Mama criteria and figure out, the logistics of what they want in the home. But then they don't know how to move forward from there. Here we're a second home market, so people are traveling, down. We're trying to figure out when their next trip is. But how do you set that appointment? How do you move it forward from the phone call to now we're transitioning to an appointment and getting that buyer consult?
Yeah. So we use a little bit different scripts. I use an ALM, which is going to be set the appointment is first, talk about listings, and then talk about motivation. And so let's just say I got an online buyer lead. And I'm going to call that online buyer lead. I'm going to say, hey, Ally, it's Greg Harrelson over here at XYZ Company. I just wanted to touch base with you. I see you were inquiring about some information on this particular property. I'm just kind of curious. Would you like to take a look at that this afternoon or maybe sometime tomorrow? So my opening line is asking for the appointment. Now, the theory behind that is internet has now got all the information. So people don't call us for information. They call us for access. So what I'm doing is in the first line of me calling a lead, I'm giving them access right from the get-go. Now they'll quickly say, oh gosh, I'm not in town. No, we're not going to be here for a while. That's perfectly fine. Well, what did I just do? I just gave them access. And if I will be a giver of access and not make them ask, if I give them what they want and not make them ask for it, they will give me what I want when I ask for it. It's called the law of reciprocity. So that's how we go about asking for the appointment right within the first second. It's an offering of access is our form of asking for the appointment.
Fair. I mean, totally fair. And I think, so fast forward, right? We get through that conversation. The person is sitting in front of you. How are you training your agents on how to have that conversation. Of course, they're bringing, their signed agreements, or they're bringing them pre-filled out or whatever. Like, talk me through that.
Yeah, and that's a good one, because in the past, on the listing side, we had talked about pre-listing paperwork, the pre-listing routine. So I believe for the buyer agents, they need a pre-buyer conversation, a pre-buyer agency or agreement conversation. And so let's just assume that that was all on the phone, and we're going to meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Okay, well, I'm going to send you some information about agency agreement prior to our meeting. And a lot of my agents actually, I won't say we did it because they had to do their own, have a little video that explains buyer agency, what their value is, kind of here's what I'm going to do for you, and say, hey, I want you to see this video. It's more of a value-driven video, not I'm going to ask you to sign video. It's more of like, I'm kind of future pacing, hey, this is the value. This is what you can expect tomorrow when we talk. By the way, I'm going to send you this information about the new rules about buyer agency. That's going out prior to tomorrow's meeting. So when they have tomorrow's meeting, they can reference, hey, did you get a chance to look at that? And usually the answer is yes. And that kind of makes it very easy to just roll right into the conversation. The agent then says, hey, look, the rules have changed. This is how it works now. Before I can show you property, we have to enter into an agency agreement with a compensation. This is how it works. And then they just go ahead and just get it signed.
Okay.
But I think it's the pre-conversation, the pre-appointment package, that pre-appointment video that softens the conversation. So when they get in there, it's not so much. And if you got an agent that's newer and they're a little bit nervous and they follow what I just said and they say, did you get a chance to look at it? And they say, oh, yes, that was very helpful. That right there will calm a newer agent down. Just when they say, oh, yes, it was very helpful. And that's the kind of response you're typically going to get.
Okay. And so are you sending those through YouTube, through a tech item?
That would be, kind of depends on the communication style of the buyer, but it would be more email and text.
Okay.
So it'd be definitely an email, but usually there would be the video, we would text that. Like, you put that on YouTube, text the link in real quick, but I wouldn't be texting PDF documents of the agreement. That would be more in the form of an email.
Sure. Fair.
And in the video, I could say, hey, make sure you check out the email. I sent some additional things that it'd be helpful if you looked it over before we got together.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think education is a huge part of it. For Andrew and I, we work with a lot of people that are retirees. And so maybe they haven't bought a house since the 80s or the 90s. And so the process is different now. And so just kind of, giving them that educational piece. So, hopefully they do work with us, but, maybe it's in the future. They kind of just understand how the process works, and giving them that literature is important.
Yeah. What we found through trial and error is that, we thought we would go with the minimal explanation and just get it signed in the beginning. And what we found is we could get a lot of them signed. But when we decided, you know what, we're going to go overboard on explanation on what the value is, why this is a good thing for them, why this matters for them, then we got more of them signed. And when they got signed, people were like, I'm so happy you took the time to explain it. So it totally set us up for an amazing relationship all through the process, versus like a lot of agents are going in, we've got to sign this or I can't open the door. And that's fine. That you can get a lot signed by holding the door hostage, which is the rule, really. You can get a lot of them signed by doing that. But when you really take your time to explain it and have a dialogue about it, you build amazing rapport and trust.
Yeah. And so what if, there's always one or two. What do you do when the buyer's like, okay, fine, I understand how that works, but I'm not going to sign it.
We don't show them property.
Fair.
I mean, that's the rule. That's the rule. And I know there's a lot of people that break the rule. We don't show them property. That's the rule.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I think also having standards around, how you operate is very, very important. And we kind of talk with that with our agents on our team. You want to make sure that you have a process in place. Everybody's process is different, but you want to keep to the process.
Yes.
So that, you're protecting your time and also protecting, your clients. And so I mean, I think that was great. I don't really have any more questions on that. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think that you kind of covered it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us in on our podcast, and we're looking forward to talking to you soon.